Hey y'all, welcome back to the Free Black Women's Library YouTube channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Thank you for liking this video and thank you for subscribing to my channel. Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back to the Free Black Women's Library. I'm recording this on Zoom, so I know it might look a little weird, but listen, I want to talk about this show. I don't have the proper camera equipment or podcasting, recording, microphone, none of that stuff. I usually do my videos on my phone, but now I'm doing it on my computer because my phone has been acting up. But I want to talk about the Gilded Age because y'all know that this is my ish. I love this show so much. But I also love Downton Abbey. I love historical dramas. I love historical fiction. It's the costumes, it's the music, it's the details. It's just capturing a very specific era in time. Something about that I find just so appealing. And Julian Fellows, Sonja Warfield, all the folks behind the scenes for this show, they really, you can tell that they take it very seriously and they see it as an art form. Not sure if y'all hear those sirens that are going by right now. Hopefully you don't. I'm in the city. I'm in the city. Anyway, let's get into it. So, right now we are on episode 4 of season 3. Some would say this is the mid-season finale. I didn't double check before pressing record to see if we're only getting 8 episodes this season. We probably are. So, yes, that would make this the mid-season finale. And it was a good one. It was a good one. 10 out of 10 for me. Well, yeah, I'll say 10 out of 10. As far as like the build up to this big wedding, to Gladys's wedding. And those of you who are really into history and this time period know that Gladys's story is inspired by the story of a young lady named Consuelo Vanderbilt who was forced to marry a duke, similar to Gladys being forced to marry the duke. So she's the inspiration for the story. So if y'all were following that from the very beginning and kind of into that Gilded Age lore, then you kind of knew what was coming, but that didn't make it any better. I felt so bad for Gladys. I actually did cry because it just was like, damn, like patriarchy is so violent. And her mom, anyway, let me slow down. Okay, so here's what we're doing. We're doing Rambly recaps. I'm doing Rambly recaps. And the way I do my recaps is I don't go scene by scene. I go story arc or character by character. And what I do is I talk about my not let me not say least favorite, but I talk about the plots that I find least tantalizing and I work up to my favorite plots, least favorite to favorite. Okay. So in this show, we have multiple characters and we're dealing with 3 to 5 plots at a time. But in this specific episode, there were 3 major plot points. The first one I'm going to talk about is Jack, Jack's clock. So Jack and Larry have made 600K off of Jack's invention, his patent. He's developed a new type of alarm clock, and they went to Weston in episode 3, and Weston has come back and made them this offer of 3, and then it went up to 4, and Larry, who's his father's son, was like 6. And listen, I learned something in that moment when it comes to negotiations because what he did was he basically doubled their first offer. Did y'all peep that? Larry is his father's son. Larry is a businessman. He is young, a bit of a player, very handsome, charming, and whatnot. But he also has a mind for business, right? And we've seen that since season 1 and 2. He knows how to talk to people, he knows how to make things happen. He's a ladies' man. The situation with Marion, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. But either way, that was the first major plot in this episode for me. Jack and Larry made this 600K. Larry made 300K just for setting up that meeting. He set up that meeting and he kind of suaved the negotiations and got 300K. He had nothing to do with the invention. I find that, I don't know, there's something very slick about that deal, right? For him to get half of Jack's money just for setting up that meeting. Is that how business works? Y'all let me know. I'm not a business person. So maybe that's how it is. If you broker the deal, you get 50%. Either way, Jack is now rich. And I listen to the Gilded Age official podcast, HBO podcast, which is a really great podcast. They give lots of fun details. They do interviews with the cast and the crew members. This last episode, they interviewed the costume designer, Tasha, who's a genius. Girl, if you're watching this, you're a genius. I love you. Either way, so what they said on the episode was that 300K in the 1800s is equal to $9 million in 2025. So Jack is rich AF, but he is not ready to leave. He's not ready to leave the house. He could go buy his own house, start a company, travel the world. He could do so much. Buy a whole bunch of cars, have his own footman, right? But he shares with us and Miss Bauer that this is the only home he's ever known. This is the only family he's ever had. And he's not ready to leave. And I'm guessing that Jack is probably somewhere between the ages of like 19 and 25. So he's pretty young. And we don't know how long he's been working in the Van Ryn, or should I say the Forte household. But he says that this is his only home, his only family. So he's not ready to do anything just yet. So he's going to be sitting on these coins. But who knows that Jack has 300K? Larry and Mrs. Bauer. Mrs. Bauer, as sweet and as good intentions as she has, she's a little bit of a chatty Cathy. So I'm afraid that she's going to spill the beans. And I really hope that she's able to keep this secret. Please, girl, don't go telling his business to anyone, especially not that mean old lady in waiting racist whose name I'm blanking on her name, but please don't tell her that Jack is rich now because oof, yeah, I'm just worried. I'm worried about what's going to happen with this money. I hope Jack stays rich. I don't know if Jack is based off a real character, but I do know that Weston was a real watch company. So either way. And so that's the first plot point, Jack's watch. And then the second plot point is this situation with Ada and Agnes, the sisters, this constant fighting they're doing, it really unsettles my spirit. Like, I want them to get along. I love when they're getting along. I love when they're like sisters. But the thing is that, Ada's grieving, like, she's grieving. She never thought she would find love. She never thought that she would have a husband. She found love later in life, this blooming, beautiful, sweet, nurturing love. And then just like that, it was gone. So she's really going through it, right? You see that in every episode, she's always wearing all black. She is in deep mourning and she wants to figure out what she can do to work through this grief. And I am disappointed in the way her sister is not showing any empathy and real sympathy for her. Like, we see these little bursts of it, but she's losing patience, right? So we see that they are shopping for a dress for the Russell wedding, and they have this back and forth beef. It's about the money once again. And then Agnes says she's going to a meeting. So Ada's like, okay, good. Now I'm going to have the home all to myself. so that I can make arrangements to meet this spiritualist who is going to help me talk to my beloved Luke. But unfortunately, Agnes comes back early because she is no longer considered a member of the organization because the donations are no longer in her name. So once again, this money is an issue. Um, One of the themes for this show, I think, and you let me know what you think. One of the themes I think for this show is how money changes people, or money unsettles, money causes friction, money causes pain, money causes greed, a sense of uh possessiveness, and a wanting for power. Like money and power, right, is a big theme in the Gilded Age. And we see it in this sisterhood and this beef between these two sisters. And also this grief, this mourning. First, she tried the whole like thing with trying not to get everybody to commit to not drinking. Now she's trying to talk to his spirit. So either way, so that's the second plot line that I'm going to mention, the Ada and Agnes plot line. And I really hope that they get to a point where they can like work things through. I really like that scene where Marion and Agnes were talking. She came up into her room and Marion was like, "You don't be coming up in here. What you doing up in here?" And Agnes was, they started talking about the wedding, and it was like a cute little kiki. And I was like, yes, this is the Agnes that we love. She's snooty and she's sarcastic and she has some reads, but she's a kind person, right? She's not a bully. She's not cruel. She's just pragmatic and earnest, right? And I love seeing her and Marion have that moment. And I love that later moment when they were talking about how pretty Marion looked in her bridesmaid's dress. And she said she's so beautiful, if only she knew how to use it properly. And I understood what she meant. There's this quote where it says youth is wasted on the young. And I think it kind of connects to that because sometimes people are really beautiful and they don't realize they're beautiful. They're really brilliant and they don't realize they're brilliant. So as a result, they don't step into their full potential. They're always like toning themselves down, or not seeing themselves as grand as they are. And I feel like that's what that moment made me think of, because Marion is overly humble. Like she's very pretty, she's very sweet, she's a teacher, she wants to have good politics. Oh my God, remember when she brought those horrible shoes to Peggy's? Anyway, but yeah, so that's the plot line, the Ada and Agnes plot line, the conflict between these two sisters. So the third plot line, for me, and we're going to most important to me, is Gladys's wedding, right? So yeah, like I said, this really made me sad. Y'all, I was actually crying when Gladys came down those stairs. And not even at that part. I started tearing up seeing George sitting at the foot of the stairs waiting for her. And I was like, she's gonna come down the stairs because that's what happens. And then she came down and she looked so scared. She looked like a lamb going to slaughter. Like the actress is 30 years old. The actress that plays Gladys is 30. And I'm guessing the Gladys character is about 18, 19, right? She hasn't really had a chance to experience anything. And now she's going to be a wife. She hasn't experienced anything. Like she has been sheltered. She's an heiress who's been sheltered for her whole childhood and adolescence. And then this man shows up, this grown ass Duke who looks old enough to be her daddy, and she's married off to him and sent off to this country. Like, oh, I was so mad at Bertha. I loved Bertha season 1. Bertha season 2. Excuse me. I enjoyed Bertha season 2, that whole thing with the Met Opera. She ate that. That very last episode of season 2, when she starts plotting on her daughter marrying the Duke, that's when I was like, you know what, Bertha, you've gone too far. You've gone too far, Bertha. What are you doing? And yeah, she wants the best for her children. She wants her daughter to have power. She wants her daughter to have power and influence. But you're not doing this for Gladys, Bertha. You're doing this for yourself because you want to let people know that you are the mother of a duchess, right? You want to be a member of high society. You want to seal your place in high society. 2 years ago, Astor says, we didn't know who she was, and now her daughter is a duchess. Sealed. It is what it is. It's happening. So, okay. So here's the thing. Those of you who know history know what happened, so I'm not going to spoil it for you. But when we see Gladys standing at the altar, crying her eyes out in front of all those people, being married off, that was based on a real life moment. Consuelo Vanderbilt actually wrote her memoir, and she talks about this marriage and how she was crying, like she felt shattered. And Bertha is sitting there smiling, crying happy tears. I thought maybe she had a little twinge of regret, maybe a little bit. And that's why she looked so swept up in emotion. No, not at all. She told George, please let me enjoy this. Please don't kill my vibe. You know what I'm saying? Don't ruin my high. Watch what's happening. Look what I did, right? So the Gladys storyline is basically she's a teenage girl married off to a grown-ass man and sent off to another country to live. And we meet the Duke's sister. This is our first time seeing this character. I think her name is Sarah. She doesn't like these folks. She doesn't like the Russells. That's obvious. She's very dry. She's very cold, acerbic. She's very much like, She tells the Duke at the altar, try not to laugh. What's funny? It's a wedding. It's not, there's nothing funny happening here. This is not like, what? What are you talking about? So that was weird. And we also met Gladys's sister. I'm sorry, not Gladys's sister, Bertha's sister, Gladys's aunt, Monica. Monica was the only family member at this wedding, right? Outside of the ones that we already know. Larry, George, Bertha. That's all we know when it comes to the Russells. That's all we know. That's all we've seen. We have never heard of George having a brother or sister, never heard of his parents. We never knew Bertha had a sister until this episode. O'Brien, a very proper Irish name, right? Monica O'Brien is invited by Larry, the little rascal that he is. He knew his mama did not want her there, but he invited her. He's like, she's family. This is a big deal. And I was with him. Like, you can have all these strangers, all these paparazzis, all these high society sedity people who don't even know you at your daughter's wedding, but you're not going to have your own sister there. Come on, Bertha. You can't be like that. So Monica shows up, and the actress is one of my favorite actresses. She's an amazing character actress. She is also on Severance. And she was so cute with her non-fancy clothes. And it was really cool to see what non-rich people would be wearing during this time period as far as like their style, and non-society city people. It was nice to see that contrast as far as like dresses. So that was cool. But Monica O'Brien, somehow she ends up spilling coffee all over her dress. Uh, we know Bertha set that up. So now she has to wear Bertha's clothes to the wedding. And they have this funny moment, the sisters, where Bertha's telling her how many times she changes during the day. And I wrote it down. It was 6 times. Bertha changes 6 times a day. And Monica was like, geez, I might change once if I'm having company, but that's about it. And I'm with you, Monica, because first of all, it is so much work putting on these clothes. You got the corsets, the undergarments, you got all the things, you got the bustle. It is so much work. So imagine having to do that 6 times a day. That's why you have your, you know, your maid who helps you, but still, I don't think Monica has maids or servants or anything like that. We don't know what Monica does yet, but it's obvious that Bertha does not come from money. Um, I'm not sure about George. I feel like they have been together a very long time, and they've both been very much determined to become rich and become powerful people. And they made an alliance a long time ago and saw themselves as a power couple, and we saw them as a power couple too, right? Bertha's always been like, I take care of the house, you make the money, period. So very much that. But you can see from this episode that George is not 100% confident in this specific move of marrying their daughter off. He's not happy about it, but he also doesn't really speak against it, right? So once again, Bertha gets her way. And I don't know, a part of me was thinking, am I disappointed in George for not standing up for Gladys and pushing back a little bit more aggressively around this wedding? Or did he said to Gladys, if you don't want to do this, I will support you. And somehow Gladys got talked into it. We saw how Bertha even got Marion involved. She didn't even want Marion to be a bridesmaid, right? She doesn't want Marion dating her son, but somehow she recruited Marion, like, can you please go talk to her to get her out her room? This is another situation that is based on a true historical moment, because Consuelo apparently locked herself in her room and did not come out of her room for days when after the announcement of the engagement to the Duke. So I like when they do stuff like that because I love history. Either way, this plot point was the most significant plot point, and a lot of stuff has been leading up to this point, right? That very last episode of season 2 is what led us to this mid-season finale. I love the timing. I love the pacing of this show. And when I first started watching it, season 1, I thought that there was like way too much going on with all these different characters, but it feels like they found their stride and they found their rhythm with that. And maybe it was just me, but I'm learning and I'm understanding this world, right? This world building situation that Julian Fellows and Sonja Warfield, did I say that? Julian Fellows and Sonja Warfield wrote this episode, and it was directed by Michael Engler. And some of the themes in this episode: marriage, divorce, family, change, Yeah. Speaking of marriage and divorce, a really tiny plot line is the staff over at the Russell household. The head mistress of the house and the chef were kind of dating. I thought they were dating, but I guess they were not because it turns out that she's married. She's married to a man who has intense melancholia and is living in an insane asylum. He's been in an insane asylum for a couple of years, and she's not going to divorce him because this is the no divorce era, right? Poor Miss Fane is going through it. But yeah, so he proposed to her and she said no. So I don't know what's gonna happen with those two, but I was really feeling them as a couple. So it's unfortunate. But I also like the plot twist of her being married and her pretending she was single at first because she was like, I don't know y'all, but why would I tell you if I'm married or not? But it turns out her husband has mental illness. This might be what we call depression today, right? Oh no, my computer's dying. Oh my God, bad timing. So either way, tiny moment. Um, Mr. Church, unfortunately, he didn't see that coming. Okay. All right, don't leave me, y'all. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. There we go. All right. So Jack and Larry, Ada and Agnes, Gladys's wedding, plot. Beautiful plot, beautiful stories being told, beautiful gowns, literally, metaphorically, beautiful. Now, my favorite plot point, my favorite character, Miss Peggy. Miss Peggy. So, what's going on with Miss Peggy in this episode? First of all, looking mwah, like the beauty that she is, so beautiful, so gracious, so lovely, just everything. I love Peggy Scott. She and her auntie and mom, we see them having this little moment with Miss Kirkland talking, and Dr. Kirkland's there. He's sprung for Miss Scott. Everything she says, he's just like, obviously, he's really into Peggy. And I don't know if she's into him because she's playing it really cool, but I think it's because of her past situations, like the situation with the editor from the newspaper and then the guy before him. So I think she's just like playing it really cool. Like I feel like her and Marion both have that in common where they've just like been in these weird entanglements and situationships with these men. And so now they're just like, let me be cool. Like, let me just, because I'm not trying to, like Agnes said to Marion, like, you are twice, this is twice now that you have been considered, you could be considered used goods. So tread lightly, right? And same with Peggy. Like her mom is like, listen, like, you know what? But we like Dr. Kirkland for Peggy. First of all, he's a doctor. Mm. Just drinking some water because I'm talking a lot. First of all, he's a doctor, right? And that's a green flag in any era, unfortunately or fortunately. He's a healer, right? Second of all, he's single and he seems kind. He's genuinely interested in Peggy's career and Peggy's work. I love that he says he wants to read her book. I love when she made her speech at the gathering. He was the first person to stand up and give her a standing ovation. People were just like, he was like, and his mom looked up. Felicia Rashad is filling this role. She looked at him like, okay, relax. So Mrs. Kirkland is very shady, and she is the type of Black person who is very elitist and classist. And I'm not like those other Negroes. She's one of those, right? She thinks she's better than the Scotts. She thinks her son, she thinks Miss Peggy Scott and her family are beneath them. Um, and she says things that are red flags, right? The last episode, episode 3, she talked about them not getting dark, the kids not getting darker. We don't like that. Peggy is obviously a richer, darker skinned Black woman. Both her parents are darker skinned Black folks. So, I think this is a really deep and important and relevant plot line. And I say this all the time, but it would be really awesome to get a spin-off show led by Erica Armstrong Dunbar, who's one of the producers, Black woman producer and historian and professor, for this show, to get a spin-off focusing on the Black folks of this era, or any era, in fact. Can we get a Black piece of historical fiction where Black folks are living, right? Just like this. And I'm not going to say, oh, something that doesn't involve slavery, because I'm not one of these people who thinks we have enough slavery shows. But I think it would be awesome to get a Gilded Age or a Harlem Renaissance or Black Arts Movement series. Hire me. Hire me. I would help with any aspect, but most specifically the set design and costumes. Either way, back to Peggy's plot line. So Peggy gives this beautiful speech. But before that, we have this moment with her auntie and her mom, where Miss Kirkland is like talking about she doesn't feel like, why do women need the right to vote, and why is Peggy writing about these things, like this is like man's business, this is not something that a woman, a wife, and a mom like and Peggy's like, listen, I want to be a wife, I want to be a mom, but I am also political, I also have strong ideas, strong opinions, and I'm also a writer, period. And I love Peggy's mom, because Peggy's mom is like, yes, Peggy has strong opinions. Like Peggy's proud of her, Peggy's mom is proud of her daughter. Mrs. Scott is proud of her daughter, and she's proud of her man, right? So Peggy gives her speech, and it was really cool that Dr. Kirkland came to see it. His mom came, his dad came, like they all came to see this. And afterwards, we have this brief moment with Aurora Fane, tiny plot point. Aurora's husband is leaving her. Is it me, or did that come out of nowhere? I don't know. I feel like I need to go back and rewatch a few episodes, because why all of a sudden is her man divorcing her? Like, I know that he started seeing someone else, but is that it? Like, I don't know. I feel bad for her, but I hope they give her some happy moments in the future, because whew, I get a little frustrated when women characters are just like constantly suffering and they don't have any relief from their suffering. And Aurora has been one of those characters. Gladys has been one of those characters. But either way. So they walk over to the Kirklands, and somebody asks, oh, where is Peggy's dad? And Mrs. Scott is like, oh, he had to go back to the city. You know, he had to go back to the city. He's got work to do, a business to run. And Miss Kirkland says, He's not an important man, not like us. Excuse me? What? Are you? I gagged. I was like, would somebody really say this? I don't know. It didn't feel realistic, but that's because I don't know people like this. Maybe she would. Maybe somebody of Mrs. Kirkland's character would say something so out of pocket to someone's face. How you gonna say her man is not important, right? Miss Scott is like, he's a proud husband and father, a business owner who works hard, takes care of his family. Like, he's got things to do. How is that different from you? Right? She says that. How is it different from you, Mr. Kirkland? And Mr. Kirkland is like, it's really not. It's really not. You know, he says sometimes, Miss Kirkland, he says something about like this world is not all there is, right? And I don't know if his wife even caught that shade because she barely blinked. I don't even know if she realized that what she said was out of pocket. There was no sense of recognition of, oh, I spoke out of turn, or oh, what I meant was, like, she didn't walk it back at all. She didn't walk it back. She said, you know, you spoke very well. She was like, I don't agree with anything you said or even understand why you're saying what you're saying, but you speak really well. And they left. Dr. Kirkland looked like he wanted to stand around for a little bit longer to talk to Peggy, but his mom was like, we're leaving. And he left with her. So I don't know. I don't want to say mama's boy because I hate expressions like that. But there's going to be a point where he's going to have to stand up for Peggy, right? To his mother. And I wonder if he's going to have the backbone to do that. We shall see. We shall see. Y'all know I've been wanting a really sweet love story for Peggy for a long time. I'm glad her career is going well. I'm glad that she got a book deal. And I am curious to see, who do y'all think that Peggy Scott's character, which historical, real life historical figure in history do y'all think Peggy is based on her character? The way she wears her hair reminds me of the pictures that we see of Ida B. Wells, but Ida B. Wells has had a completely different life and a completely different history. Ida B. Wells was also a writer who wrote about really strong, important issues, lynching, anti-Black racism, anti-Black violence. And she was a feminist who was not afraid to tell the truth. And very much similar to Peggy, but Ida was not from Brooklyn and had like 5 kids. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But who do y'all think Peggy's based on? So yeah, so that's my last plot point. So the highs and lows for this episode for me, which is something I like to talk about at the end of all my videos. The highs and lows. The highs for me, which is the scene that I kind of already mentioned already, which is when Mrs. Scott stood up for her man. I love that scene. That was my favorite scene because she shut it down. Another scene I really, really loved was the scene with Gladys coming down the steps, her dress. I love all the costuming in this episode. And the lows for me, kind of mentioned this already too, the fight between Ada and Agnes. I want them to stop fighting. I want them to get along. I want them to be sisters. So yeah, so that's it. I have tons of notes and I didn't even look at them one time. So this was a true Rambly reaction. As far as like my videos go. And I plan on making a video for all of the episodes that are left this season. So wish me luck. I hope I can make it happen. I love this show so much. Yeah. What do y'all think is going to happen between Larry and Marion? Do you think that he's going to propose? Do you think that's going to fall apart? Do you think Bertha is going to put a wrench in that situation? I think she is. I think she's going to mess that up. What do you think about Madame Dashkova, this who can speak to the dead? Will we see that character again? That character was played by an iconic comedic actress named Andrea Martin. Love her. Oh, the paparazzi. The paparazzi talking about Gladys's underwear in the paper. That really happened. Also true. Talked about Felicia Rashad and how she's is eating up this role. So mean. I was like, not Mrs. Huxtable being a bee. um, there's a very strained relationship between Bertha and Larry, but we already knew that. It's been like that for a while. Back when she made sure that he stopped sleeping with that married woman, that's when things kind of went awry for them. It seemed like they were like close up until that point. Um, Not like us. Yeah, I've talked about that already. I hope we see more of Bertha's sister, Monica. Oh, and did y'all see the handmaiden that tried to sleep with George is back? I have a feeling that she's gonna try to cozy up to Monica to get some tea about Bertha because you know she still has it out for Bertha. You know, that whole situation with George and her firing her, and then I'm I'm like, ugh, that situation with the Met box where she thought they would get the center box. And it sounds like her husband might be dying. So if her husband dies, she's going to be rich, woman of means. And I don't know. I feel like she's going to try to talk to Monica to get some tea on Bertha. So that's definitely coming. Oh, I talked about Aida and Mary, the gossip session that they had. And yeah, that's pretty much most of it. I like Monica. They like the new character. Definitely want to see more of her. Not a fan of the Duke's sister, that new character. Although I know she's just playing a character, she's probably a sweet lady. Either way, thank you for watching this video. If you made it to the very end, please leave me a comment. Let me know if you're watching The Gilded Age and what are you thinking about the season so far. All right, y'all. So I hope I talk to you again. Bye.